This is Infographic Instant with Brian Michael. In this infographic, we're going to be looking at the effect of local government debt on Chinese banks' earnings. This topic is important for our discussion of Hong Kong as an international financial center and its fragility, because naturally, if debts cannot be repaid at the provincial level to Chinese banks, then many of these Chinese banks, which also operate in Hong Kong, will face some difficulties. So, looking at the figure, we see three points of interest for the viewer. The first is the earnings decline of different mainland banks if there is a default on a subnational debt, and that is shown by the red bars. So we see Mainland as the leader in terms of earnings declines, while we see other banks like CITIC and ICBC facing less exposure to local government debt. At the bottom of the figure shows the percent of that bank's books exposure to local government debt. So unsurprisingly, Mainland has the largest amount of exposure at 18%, whereas in other banks such as CMB and ICBC have exposure of about 9%. And the figures at the top of the graph show exposure to low-grade debt. And those are the gray boxes on top of each bar. So we see Mainland has 30% exposure to non-investment grade debt, whereas in other banks such as CCB have up to 50%. And this is a graph which is citing research done by Nomura Equity Research, as cited in Veal 2002. So the moral of the story is that Hong Kong has a fair amount of fragility, and we illustrate that fragility by this graph showing how relatively high debt loads, as we've shown in a previous webcast, can contribute to mainland Chinese banks' non-performing bank book balances, and that in turn leads to potential repercussions in Hong Kong. This is Brian Michael with Infographic Instant.